Hi, everybody. Okay, let's get started. So today we are going to talk about letting go of shoulds. So this is something that comes up a lot when I'm working with clients, and that is the number of times we have things on our to-do list that we should do. Okay, so maybe it is, well, I really should do the laundry, or I really should go to that event, or I really should do blank. And shoulds, shoulds come from the outside, right? So shoulds are all the things that we think other people expect of us, or they're things that we think society expects of us, or things that we think other people need us to do. And a lot of times, shoulds are things that we maybe don't want to do, or we don't feel qualified to do, or we don't have time to do, but we are too afraid of letting other people down or making people unhappy to say no. Okay. And one of the big things with shoulds is that they often eat away at our time, and they leave us feeling drained and stressed out, and quite often resentful to other people, or resentful towards life in general, resentful towards our kids. Aside from keeping your children alive and fed and reasonably cleaned and loved, a lot of shoulds on our to-do lists are things we need to let go. Okay, they are things that are unnecessary baggage that we're carrying around, unnecessary tasks that we are taking on in an effort to be the nurturer and giver and lover and provider that we women and moms are taught from a very early age we are supposed to be. It is also done in an effort to be nice, right? We don't want to upset people or disappoint people. So how can we let go of shoulds? Right? It's something that can be very hard for a lot of us because we have spent a lot of our time doing things for other people, and putting other people ahead of ourselves. Especially as moms, we put everybody ahead of ourselves. And oftentimes this means that our personal care or our business takes the back seat. And then we get to the end of the day and we're like, why didn't I get to work on my business again? Why am I not hitting my deadlines again? So how do we get rid of shoulds? First and foremost, getting rid of shoulds involves getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. Because when we say no, or when we say, I'm not interested in doing that, or that's just not right for me, initially there is going to be pushback because people are used to being able to come to us for things. They're used to us doing things for them. And so when we start saying no or establishing boundaries, it's going to be uncomfortable for other people, because now they either have to do it themselves or find someone else. And so there will be pushback. And very often we will feel that and we will cave right away, because the pushback will make us feel as though we're doing something wrong. But at the end of the day, a very important thing to remember is that you are not responsible for how other people feel about you looking after yourself. Okay? When someone doesn't like you having a boundary, or when someone doesn't like you being unavailable to do what they need, that's a them problem. That's not a you problem, right? You looking after yourself or prioritizing your time and your needs is not bad. And so if they don't like it, that's a them problem. So it comes down to to letting go of the idea that we can control other people's feelings or responses. We are not responsible for the feelings of other people. I mean, granted, we shouldn't be jerks and go around being mean, but we cannot manage other people's feelings, and that's not our job. And honestly, it's not our business. It's not fair. We have no business trying to manage somebody else's feelings. Those are their feelings. They get to manage them. And why would we take that power away from them, right? Oftentimes we think we're doing a good thing, but in fact, we're not allowing them to live their life and learn the lessons they need to learn and grow in the way they need to grow. We need to allow people the space that they deserve to grow and learn in their own way. So by setting these boundaries and saying no and letting go of the shoulds, we're allowing people the freedom and space to be themselves. And we are then reclaiming the freedom and space to be ourselves. Okay. So anytime you find yourself saying should, like, oh, I really should do the laundry, I really should go to that party, I want you to sit back and ask yourself, is that something I want to do? Or am I afraid that somebody's going to be upset with me if I don't? Or am I afraid that someone is going to judge me if I don't? Right? Because we're all so very afraid of judgment. And don't get me wrong, I am a recovering people pleaser. Okay. I was permanently stressed out all the time because I always said yes and I always did what I should do. But then I got mad at other people when they got to live their best life and I wasn't living mine. Because I was like, well, why do they get to do all these things? And it was like, well, because they chose to. And oftentimes they got to do them at my expense, but not because they were mean, but because I took on the responsibility. So when someone asks you to do something for them, or when you're taking an action and you're feeling it's obligatory, again, aside from keeping your children alive, fed, moderately clean, loved, all that jazz. But when you're like, oh, I'm doing this because I should, pause and say, okay, do I want to? Does this work for me? How do I feel about it? And how do I feel about the idea of saying no, right? Does it make you feel tense? And if you're not comfortable saying no to somebody right away when they ask you something, say, I'm going to need to think on that. Buy yourself some time, right? Saying no takes practice. It is not something that we are used to doing. So if someone comes to you and says, hey, I could really use some help, moving this weekend, and your gut reaction is, I should do that. Take a minute and say, okay, I'm going to need some time to think about it. I don't have my schedule in front of me, and then go think about it. It will take time. I mean, getting good at saying no without an explanation can take a lifetime. Because so often we feel like we need to justify why we're not doing something, but the simple fact that you don't want to is a good enough reason. Hey, do you want to come out on Friday night? No. Why? I don't want to. That's all. Do you want to come to this social event? No. I mean, I had to really practice it because I'm an introvert through and through. I find being around large groups of people very draining, and it takes me time to recover. Like I have downtime so that I can, regather my energy, recenter myself. And so I had to practice saying no to things. It doesn't mean I don't want to be invited. It just means I'm not always going to say yes, depending on where I'm at. This goes for your clients and customers as well, right? If somebody is paying for a service or a product and you have, clearly defined timelines and deadlines, and they want it done faster, our immediate response is, oh, I really should get it done faster. But what does that do to the rest of your life? Okay. How does that impact your other clients or customers? How does that impact your family? How does that impact you? Are you going to be pulling an all-nighter to get it done? Okay. How does it feel to think about doing that thing? Because trust me, when you start to really listen, there will be a gross feeling when you're like, oh, I really should do that. I have to get that done. And what if you just said no? Or what if you said, great, I can see that you are under a time crunch. I have, a price for expedited delivery. Okay, what if you charge more to be able to do it faster? Because I mean, Denise Duffield Thomas said it well. She said you can either have cheap, good, or fast. You can't have all three. You can have a combination of the two. So you can have cheap and fast. You can have cheap and good. You can have fast and good, but you can't have cheap, good, and fast. So, you know, you need to charge more maybe to get it to somebody fast and still have it done well. Saying no to your clients can feel like you're cutting off an income stream, or you're casting them away as a client. But what happens if you say yes, and then and you wanted to say no, and during the course of doing it, you start to resent the client, and now, you know, the way you interact with them, your behavior towards them, the way you do the work is going to reflect that resentment. And so you're basically pushing the client away anyways. If you had said, hey, that doesn't work for me, I'm sorry, I can do it for you faster for this expedited jump the queue price, or I can recommend someone else that can do it for you faster. At least you get to maintain the relationship, and the possibility of working with them in the future remains. You know, an example that a lot of us can probably relate to is with our partners, right? When it comes to doing work around the house or carrying the mental load or anything like that, we can ask for help and tell them what we need, or we can stew about and think they should just know and grow to resent them. So it comes to knowing what you need and want, knowing what works for you and what doesn't, and then standing in that place comfortably and saying yes or no, or this is what I need from that place of knowing. And instead of doing things that you should do, doing things that you want to do, doing things that you enjoy doing things that you're excited to do, or doing things that, you know, light you up. I mean, I had a great coach one time that said, Angela, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. If you pause, say no. You can change your mind later and come back and say, you know what, I changed my mind. Sure, I'll help out. But if you pause, say no. It's funny because my dad told me that when I was younger and we were in business together too. He said, Angela, you know, good business people know that it's easy to say, it's easier to say no than yes, because yes is a commitment. It's like, so you should use that. If you are unsure, say no. And that's actually quite good advice. So getting rid of the shoulds, it will clear your schedule. I kid you not. If you sit down and you go through your to-do list, that's something you can do if you want to know if you're you know, captured by the shoulds, is look at your to-do list and say, how many of these are things I want to do, and how many of these are things I should do. And if there are things you should do, say, how many of these things belong to me? How many of these are even things that are my things? You know, they're for me, my life, my family, my business. How many of these are my things? And it can feel a bit selfish, and it can sound a bit selfish when we're always saying me, my. But if you don't take care of yourself first, then there's nothing left to give to other people that doesn't come saddled with resentment and anger and sadness, I guess. So love to hear your comments and feedback. Let me know, you know, if you struggle with the shoulds, if this is helpful to you. I'd love to hear from you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and always remember that the woman you see when you look in the mirror is exactly what a successful entrepreneur looks like. Thank you so much. Take care. Love you all. Bye now.